people up a little early just in case. 1212 1212. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? YouTube, where you at? Can you hear me? Give me some thumbs up. Let me know if I'm coming through. Let me know if I need to reset. I'm still playing with this equipment. And unfortunately, the best time to do it is when I'm kind of live. I might have to play with this. How can you stop the sun from shining? What makes the world go round? La 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 la. I can still feel the breeze. Ooh. Loud and clear. Precious memories of days gone by. Ah, I feel like singing tonight. So what's happening, people? How y'all doing? Where you at? 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 This will be my last week of censorship on Facebook. So next year, Lord have mercy. I'm on one. I tell you, I'm on some tonight. Next week, I'll be broadcasting from both places. I'm gonna be on YouTube. I'm gonna be on Facebook, but I'm also gonna be doing something else. I'm gonna be doing both. Both. I was about to say both. The problem with clowning around so much with this improper English is sometimes you get caught up and you get so used to saying I'm mispronouncing words. So that's where I'm at. Okay, I kind of moved my mic, so let me know. Make sure that everything is still coming through clear on my YouTube. We'll try something. Okay, that's what's up. Hey, hey, hey. Wall to wall, treetop tall. I tell you what I'm gonna do. What you gonna do? Tell you what I'm gonna do. What you gonna do? You know you're old school when you do call and response rap. Remember when rappers used to say something and they included the audience like, "What's your zodiac sign?" Scorpio. What's your ladies? Mercedes. All the ladies in the house say, "Ah." They don't do that no more, huh? You know you're old when you remember old school rappers doing call and response, you know? I know a man named Hank, he's got more rhymes than the money he's got banks. I got more jokes than the money got banks. But anyway, how y'all doing, people? How you doing this evening? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I'm um I'm gonna try to get in, I'm gonna try to get out. Um Trying to give a couple people a chance to come on, get in here and get it going. Some people are still slow coming to this new Facebook page. Um, Hopefully by next week, I'll meet them back and we'll talk about what's been happening. And I guess I can make it happen. I can make it happen. So, folks, I'm a, um, I'm gonna go ahead and get started in a minute here. I'm just giving a couple people a chance to get in there. But I still feel like Reverend Al Green. See? I'll say, how can you mend this broken man? Yeah. How can a loser ever win? Yeah, man, them was the days. That was some more, yeah, that was some songs right there. But anyway, let me go ahead and get started and get started. Um, Giving a couple people a chance to get in here. Slow. Facebook is always a little slow. What's up? What's up? What's up, Facebook? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Um, Things are coming along slowly but surely. Um, I'm starting to integrate some of this new equipment, and as I do that, um, I'll be taking my show kind of to the next level. I want to stay kind of underground. I like being a maverick. I like being able to say what I want to say when I want to say it, how I want to say it. So when I want to throw in a couple shits or F out their ears or whatever, I can do that without somebody telling me, it's not the cool thing to do. Or if you change what you say, if you change how you say it, then we can increase your viewership. No, no, no. I'm not in this for likes. I'm not in this for viewership. I'm in this to try to make a difference, folks, because that's what it's all about. In my mind, I've had a great career in healthcare. So if I'm going to do something with this public policy, I'm going to do it my way. You understand? So that's what it's all about. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. It's about 7:35. We're 5 minutes past the half hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna tell you good evening. Welcome to the show. As always, I want to thank you for spending your Thursday nights with me. As I always say, week in, week out, I am truly humbled that all the things you could be doing, you choose to spend your Thursday nights here with me. And because you choose to come here and listen to what I have to say, I try to break it down to you till it's unfixably broke and make this shit make sense. My name is Hank Batiste, and ironically, my show is called OMITdaLOGIC. I got something to say. This shit makes no sense. I'm your host tonight, and as usual, the voices in my head are talking nonstop. And for whatever reason, we're feeling conflicted and resolve that all at the same time. My mixed emotions, this conflict that's going on mentally and emotionally, is due to the Dems passing legislation and what seems like to me a fruitless effort. Joe Biden made promises to us. He made promises on a campaign trail that he would expand healthcare for seniors and families. He made promises that he would ensure that families got paid leave and that there would be pre-K for low and middle class families. And this is all about making sure that our kids start on an equal enough playing field when it comes to education so they don't start off behind. For seniors, and some of us are getting there, folks. He promised to expand healthcare, namely Medicare, and he talked about doing some type of universal healthcare similar to Medicare. And the difference between Medicare and Medicaid, Medicare has one law across the board. Unfortunately, Medicaid has 50 different rules in 50 different states. So each governor in the state legislature, has the power and authority to handle the state's Medicaid or healthcare system how they choose to. So he wanted to make sure that there was more equity. Equality is hard to achieve because not all of us need the same thing. Um, Case in point, I always use the veterans because A, I'm a veteran, and B, I thank God that I've been blessed and that um, I'm better off than some. But the one thing that the VA does not offer me is dental care. So I have to look elsewhere. And now that I'm getting to the age where I qualify for Medicare, I'd like to be able to protect these. One of the things people always says, man, you have the prettiest smile, you have the prettiest smile. Well, from years and years, um, I'd like to be able to keep these. I don't want to ever have to get false teeth or implants or any of that. But I know I need certain things that I want to get done that I can't get done. So when he starts to talk about improving to make sure that we all have access, what people don't realize, and I'm just going to go off on a tangent for a minute, because dental health is imperative because this is so close to the brain. So if you have an infection in your mouth, it's so easy for it to spread through an abscess and affect the brain. And that's all I'm gonna go. I won't go into the anatomy and all of that of it, the chemistry of it, but I'll just say that. So it's imperative. And whenever ever I see people with decayed teeth, I always wonder how, but by the grace of God, that they haven't had any of these deadly infections that resulted in death. But it's possible. Most of all, what Biden promised to us is that he would build back better. He would improve on the infrastructure. He would do something to address climate change and global warming. And he would do so by making sure that the wealthiest Americans paid. Now, he said their fair share of taxes. I think that's never going to happen because one of the things we have to be real about, one of the things we have to admit is when we start to talk about those that are the richest in America, we have to include politicians, both with the money that they're making out front and things that they're getting on the back end. It is what it is. So Biden promised to make sure that his agenda, his plan for building back better was going to be paid for so that our grandkids wouldn't be saddled with more debt. What's crazy about all of the legislation that's being passed now is to pay for things that Trump did in the last 4 years. So when we look at this deficit, that was not paid for by anyone other than us, the taxpayers. And it was pushed off into the distant future so that our grandkids and our great grandkids and their kids would have to pay for it. So, unlike the Trump plan, Biden said that he would make the rich pay for it. Hmm, my confliction. When we think about all of these regressive policies, these one sided tax breaks that the richest of America got, that they cashed in 2 times during the Trump administration. And then we hear about what's going on now. Why it's so hard to pass legislation that affords the average citizen, the average Joe Q, John Q, Joan Q public a fair shake so that our grandkids aren't saddled with more debt, so that we don't have to continue to borrow from the Saudis and the Chinese and all of these other people who hold markers on America. So tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a little too little too late as it refers to legislation and the Dems. But that's not all that has me conflicted, folks. What really has me conflicted is the fact that Manchin and cinema should be censored. Manchin, especially, because he's been the catalyst for all of this dissension within the Democratic Party. And it goes back to what your mama used to say, monkey see, monkey do. especially when those monkeys call themselves senator of West Virginia or Arizona. So we're going to talk about Manson a little bit. Always try not to give these knuckleheads, these antagonists, oxygen on my show. But this time is time A that I educate you on who Manson is and what he's doing, who Cinema is, Kristen Cinema and what she's doing, and what's impeding what Joe Biden called Build Back Better for the Soul of America. So tonight's show is called Soul for What America? Soul for what America? Because what we're seeing is rules that apply to this America don't apply to that America. And it's not just the rich versus the poor and middle class. It's some everyday people when it comes to the justice system. So tonight we're going to talk about it. My name is Hank Batiste. Let's omit the logic. I got something to say. This shit makes no sense. So let's do it. This shit makes no sense. Too little, too late. Okay? From day one, Joe Manchin has been the catalyst, the initiator, the agitator for all of the dissent in the Senate. He's stolen the spotlight, he's stolen the mic, he's stolen the camera, every chance he's gotten to showcase his own ego, to feed his own ego, and to spew what sounds to me like Republican values. He's certainly not representing the Democrats as a whole, but specifically, he's not representing the people that voted him into office of West Virginia. Those people, West Virginia, really don't have a senator. So he opened the door for dissent and shenanigans, and in stepped Kristen Cinema. Now she's in her first office in the Senate. Let me take that back. She was in the House of Representatives, but she's what's called a junior, a neophyte in the Senate, and she's showing her. I'm trying not to cuss, but she's showing her posterior. Okay. Manchin has single-handedly been responsible for ensuring that Biden's plan to make the wealthy not only pay their fair share of taxes, but truth be told, the wealthy will never pay a fair share of their earnings comparable to what the middle class pays. But that's an argument for another day. Manchin has been nothing short of the primary reason why blue states like Virginia now have a Republican governor. And what recent history has shown us, a Republican governor means a Republican legislature. In a Republican state legislature means that we're going to have some regressive policies, things like laws that are set up to restrict voting, laws set up to restrict abortion rights. So look for that on the not so distant horizon. So hopefully the people of Virginia, and I'm talking to you because I stayed in Arlington. I lived in Arlington when I first moved to DC. I lived on North Glebe Road. I lived on South Glebe Road. I had a house in Manassas. So my former Virginians and those folks that are there now, I'm speaking specifically to you. I know you're pissed because those people in Congress, those Dems in Congress, are not doing what we want them to do, the way we need them to do it, but don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Because I think you've made your voice heard. Don't step backwards and allow the Republicans to take over your state. Because one of the things that I just posted yesterday is 51% of Americans said that if the election were today, they will vote Republican. That scares the bejesus out of me. So before I go off and I allow myself to be pissed to the point of pissosity, I say that Mansion and Cinema should be censored. So let me take a breath first. But let me tell you what it means to be censored. Let me explain to you what censoring means. If the Dems came together and actually did something to curtail the renegades like Mansion and first time Senator Cinema, it would mean a group. Censorship means a group of people coming together, like the Dems, for example, to silence and cut off people like Manchin and Cinema because they have not been upholding the principles of the Democratic Party as a whole, but specifically, they have not been supporting the president, who's the face of the Democratic Party. So, how you get them back in line is you censor them. Now, today we heard somebody being censored, a Republican being censored because he drew a cartoon of him doing something to AOC. I don't know if it equated to an elegy murder or whatever, but they're talking about censoring him. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been taken off of her committees for the shenanigans she's been doing. So imagine if the Dems say, okay, you either get in line and you support us because we have this slim majority, or we're going to censor you. We're going to pull you off of your committees and put somebody there that behaves more like a Democrat. If they took it one step farther and they said, okay, since you're not performing and behaving like a Democrat, when it comes to re-election, you get no money from the Democratic Party for re-election. If they took it a step further and said, okay, we see that you don't want to play this game, so now we're coming to your district and we're going to make sure that there are other people. We need to find someone who's going to be more in line with the Democratic principles of building back better for the soul of this America. If we did that, if the Dems did that, if Biden pushed that, if Biden was a little bit more presidential and stopped being so hunky dory and trying to get along, you cannot make everybody like you. But what you can do is demand respect. And I am the face of this Democratic Party. So if you don't get with this party, these are the things that will be imposed upon you. So here's the conflict. Here's where I'm pissed off to the utmost of pissosity. Instead of being censored, Manchin is in fact being rewarded because he's going to be writing. He's going to be writing this plan for Build Back Better. For all of those things that we just talked about. Health care for seniors, paid leave for families, sick leave for families, preschool and Head Start for low and middle income families. And these are the things that Manchin is against. So instead of that just being tax breaks for the poor and middle class, guess who gets another tax break? These folks just got two tax breaks during the Trump administration. To add insult to injury, now they're talking about paying for Biden's plan and Biden's agenda another way. So the rich is again going to skate. So the rich is like Neo in the Matrix. They're constantly dodging, and no one is holding them accountable because Manchin and Cinema refuse to get along with the program. So I say the Dems should censor Manchin and Kristen Cinema, cut off their party funds for reelection. That would send a message that Biden, that Pelosi, and that Chuck Schumer are indeed leading the party and not the tail wagging the dog. That's all I got to say. We put them in there. The thing to do is not just put another Republican in office because that's not going to help us. We got to hold the Democrats that we put in office accountable. Let's move on. This shit makes no sense. Now, when we talk about the soul of America, nothing hits harder than the so called criminal justice system. Biden spoke over and over and over and over about reinstilling American values so that every American would be treated fairly. Nothing needs to be addressed more than the judges who were appointed over the last 8 years. Say what? Yeah, I said 8 years. You say Trump was only in office for 4 years. I said Mitch McConnell came into the Senate. He came into Congress in 1984 with the agenda to protect white privilege. And he's been doing just that. All along, I told you that the most dangerous man in America was not just Despicable Donnie, but it was really Moscow Mitch, who legalized all of delusional, Despicable Donnie shenanigans, all of that hate speech. He made it legal. When they tried to impeach him, it was Mitch McConnell who stood up and protected him. He did so because what he told Trump is one thing that Obama didn't take advantage of. Everybody keeps talking about Marine Corps has been on my mind because I hear things about these young Marines and I feel it. That's why I'm still wearing my dog tags, in support of my Marines. But we keep talking about Supreme Court justices being appointed. But more importantly, for the last 8 years or more, Mitch McConnell has quietly been moving through the shadows and appointing judges at every level, at the state level, at the district level, at the circuit level, and at the federal level. And we saw what happened with the Supreme Court. Now we're starting to see how his agenda has come to fruition. So when we start to talk about the so-called criminal justice system and why judges are so important, there are three instances, three examples that I'm going to talk about right quick tonight. One is Julius Jones. Two is Kyle Rittenhouse. And number three is the three men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. Rittenhouse. I'm going to save him. Let me talk about Jones for a minute. Julius Jones was an Oklahoma University basketball standout. He was convicted of a murder when he was 19 years old. He was convicted by a biased, crooked prosecutor who has since died. But numerous of this prosecutor's cases have been overturned for misconduct, for prosecutorial misconduct. Everyone from pro athletes to legal officials to even the parole board, the state parole board has called for clemency because it became obvious that this young man did not commit this murder. Tomorrow, 40-year-old Julius Jones was set to be executed. A few hours ago, 2 to 3 hours ago, Oklahoma governor stepped in. He didn't pardon Julius Jones. He committed his death sentence and sentenced this young man, 40-year-old young man, to life in prison without the chance of parole. Given the fact that this prosecutor has done things in all legal minds, with the exception of a few people who are working for the prosecutor's office, have said this man needs to be committed. I'm sorry, his maybe the governor needs to be committed, but his sentence needs to be set aside. This young man needs to be set free. He doesn't need to spend the rest of his life. The good thing is now he gets to fight for his life. The bad thing is his nightmare is not over. So remember the name Julius Jones, because it could be your son, it could be my son, it could be your grandson. Until the criminal justice system works for Julius Jones the way it worked for Kyle Rittenhouse, it's not just, people. So let's talk about Rittenhouse. In contrast to Julius Jones, Rittenhouse has been given every break known to America. 17-year-old gets an assault weapon, travels across state lines, somehow brandishes this assault weapon, enters into a protest, gets into a confrontation, and shoots 3 people, killing 2 of them. Now, I hate to do this. I hate to play this race card. But the truth of the matter is the 2 men that were killed and the 3rd person that was injured were white at a Black Lives Matter protest. They were protesting the young brother who was shot in the back and paralyzed. After Rittenhouse shot these people, you see the videos of him skipping down the street with the murder weapon still in hand, the literal smoking gun still in hand, and waves at the cops. And he's taken into custody. And now he's been given the best defense that the judge and the defense could give him. So the only person that's fighting against Rittenhouse is the prosecutor. But the judge did not allow the people that were murdered to be referred to as victims. After the prosecutor put on his case, a judge instilled this little thing that says, okay, now we can talk about provocation. But that should have been part of the prosecution's argument to begin with. Then the judge censored, there's our word, and admonished the prosecutor, well, because he said Rittenhouse told a story that he had never told before. In other words, your story changed. And the judge said that he had the right to not say anything, his Fifth Amendment right. That was not for the judge to say. That in itself shows bias. What really pisses me off about this case is this little smug sociopath sitting there showing no remorse whatsoever. He's sitting there like he's at recess and he's 7 years old. He's not sitting there like he's in fear of being sentenced to 60 years behind bars. He's sitting there like he knows something that you and I don't know. This is the third day of deliberation for what should have been, from what our eyes saw, but this criminal justice system tells us what you saw is not what you saw. So this is reminiscent of Rodney King all over again. This is reminiscent of us watching a police beating Rodney 52 times or more and then being acquitted. So after one more day of deliberation, this judge, or if they do come back with a conviction, this judge can overturn it because of what he said about the prosecutor. Prosecutorial misconduct. So imagine, it hurts my heart, people. It hurts my heart. It doesn't matter what color the victims were. If someone shoots you and you catch a bullet, they're the perpetrator and you are the victim. In the story. Ahmaud Arbery, I don't even see how you put up a defense. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to be done with this. How the hell you even know that somebody walked through? If that was the case, I would be dead at least 27 times. Because when I was looking for a house, it was nothing for me to walk up and gaze inside the windows. Or if it was a house under construction, for me to walk into the construction site and look at how the house was being laid out. So why that was even the reason that this boy was pursued by three men, two men in a pickup truck with a shotgun, and a third man with a cell phone. And eventually, when the boy tried to get away, they engaged him. If you come at me with a shotgun, I'm not going to allow you to shoot me as either. We're going to hustle and tussle. I'm going to try to take your shotgun. I'm going to try to disarm you so that I can have a fighting chance. This boy was killed. And somehow, we went from standing your ground to this idiot Zimmerman pursuing little Trayvon, engaging him, and then shooting him, and somehow being acquitted for self-defense. So that's the two Americas, folks. That's the true soul of America. So I'm talking to you week in, week out so that we can do something. Because if the only time we get engaged in this political process, in this political machine, is every 4 years when there's a presidential candidate, recent history shows us that we've lost the battle. So when What we have to do is we have to hold those Democrats accountable. We have to put pressure on the Pelosi's and the Bidens and the Schumers to make sure that they keep the cinemas and the mansions and the progressives and the moderates in line. Because what they're working for is what we need. That's all I got for you tonight. As always, go to my YouTube, hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Because what Facebook is time and time and time again is they're in control. And it's so easy for them to silence me by saying that somehow I violated community standards. Newsflash, we are that community. So the way around that, go to my YouTube, hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell. That notifies you when I'm going to be on air, when I'm about to drop some knowledge, when I'm about to make a video. Those positive words, those thumbs up, they go a long way. I always say, folks, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Because this thing called life, this game called life, nobody leaves alive. So make your life count. I will see you here next week. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. My name is Hank Batiste, alias the Renaissance Man, aka also known as Rennie. This is OMITdaLOGIC. This shit makes no sense, but I got something to say. So it must be true. As always imparting, I wish you love. I wish you peace, my people. Peace of mind. In hair grease. I'm out of here. Good night. Huh. Ain't no explaining the gun charge being dismissed. Like I said, don't make no sense. Good night, people. That's my pissosity.